Hello and welcome along to the SportsByte Show. We're back to the more normal style of episode this week after last time's madness of pumas, charades and picture rounds. I'm of course referring to the inaugural Question of SportsByte University Challenge. And anyway, Teesside won, so we've largely forgotten about that one. So, what's been happening since we've been gone? Well, the arrival of a fiery Italian on Weir's side seems to have saved Sunderland FC from relegation. Who knew what a victory of the arch-enemy could do for that team? But don't worry, we won't mention a certain Villa performance. Staying with football, great news for Sunderland ladies, who have been accepted into the Women's Super League Second Division ahead of next season. They'll join the likes of Millwall Lionesses and, whisper it quietly, Aston Villa ladies in August. And finally, the Marathon of the North took place on Weir's side with over 5,000 people taking part. Luckily, I wasn't one of them. Leicester's Jake Harrison came out on top with the North East's very own Tony the Fridge also taking part. Fantastic stuff from all who entered. Speaking of marathons, we don't want another marathon episode this time around. So grab a coffee, sit back, forget about work and take a look at what we've got to offer you over the next 10 minutes or so. With summer approaching, bringing with it soaring temperatures and no rain, I wish, we decided to take a look at the incredible journey that swimming has enjoyed on Weir's side. And there's few better people to chat to than Sunderland ASC head coach Danny Thompson. He'll be with us in the studio in a short while. And it's like the war in a Fawlty Towers episode around here. Don't mention varsity, but mention it we must, unfortunately, today, as Luke Summers takes a look back at the high and low points of the day in our roving report. And it's not all pom-poms, high school and Kirsten Dunst. This week's Minority Minute takes a closer look at the sport of cheerleading and how it's progressing at the university. And finally, we'd normally end with a look through the papers from our resident Geordie in Sunderland, Matt Smith. However, after the recent Decanio revival and the plight of the Magpies, I've heard that he's lying down in a dark room somewhere with a cold flannel over his forehead, resting and recuperating. But never fear, he'll be back next time, allowing us to press on with our special guest this week. After a relatively disappointing London 2012 in the pool, it's to the shock of many that Sunderland have been one of the swimming's success stories in the 10 months or so since. But not to us here on the SportsByte Show, largely because of a man with me here now. Danny Thompson, head coach of Sunderland ASC. Thank you for coming into the studio to chat to us today. Danny, let's start off this season. Just talk us through it so far. How's it gone for you?
The season itself, Andy, has been sort of a bit of a whirlwind since September, with a large proportion of highs for us, going right back to December where we had our first priority meet, the Scottish Short Course National Championships, where we went there and we produced some outstanding performances, national champions, in what was a very sort of testing training period as well. And then that quickly moved on into the start of 2013 for us, which saw us compete at the regional zonal meet. Again, we had some outstanding performances from our junior swimmers who were actually competing and medaling against senior internationals. So that was really pleasing for us. And we quickly moved on into March at the Leeds International meet, which, as you well know, attracted a high caliber field.
Yeah, it was pretty big, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, you know, and for what we've got is a relatively young team, but talented, extremely talented.
Yeah.
We had probably the best meet in the club's history at that level, walking away with several junior national titles against a world-class field. It was really pleasing, and that gave us the motivation to come back and really push hard now as we move into the final sort of training block.
Well, I was going to ask you what your favourite meet of the year was, but I think you've just answered that in the Leeds International, haven't you?
Yeah, I think so. I think certainly from a coaching perspective, to get the opportunity to test your athletes against the very best, you can't turn that down, and that's very sort of exciting in terms of just getting a benchmark to see where your guys are internationally. And we were really pleased, really proud of our results, you know.
Well, what struck me about that, Danny, was the fact that swimming, it's not really been the most covered sport, is it? I mean, it's rarely on BBC, Eurosport of the likes, but it was streamed live through the British Swimming website. How important is something like that to progress the sport?
I think it's crucial that the exposure that swimming gets becomes more mainstream and it gets out there in sort of the public domain. I know for us and for our guys, when we take away a small nucleus of our club and we go to a big meet like this, the majority of the club programme, they only get to find out the results via a text or via a call. So to be able to actually let your junior swimmers see what your older guys are doing at a meet, and for them to log on to a computer and to watch that live and just get a snapshot of what it would be like to be at that meet. It's very inspirational for those guys, you know. So
well, there's a lot of obviously good performances for your guys, and the swimmers, they tend to get most of the credit. But what about the coaches? Just talk us through a day in the life of Danny Thompson.
Coaching's a pretty demanding profession. And I'll give you an example. We'll take yesterday, for instance. For me, I live...
So we're talking a Wednesday.
Wednesday. This is an average Wednesday. I live in Middlesbrough. The alarm will go off at 4:20 in the morning. That means I'm up and I'm at the pool by 5:10. My athletes start arriving around about 5:15. They'll do some sort of injury prevention work prior to going into the pool till 5:30. Then we predominantly train 5:30 till 7:30. However, some of our junior guys, they leave at 7 for schooling and things like that, but we manage that. The older guys, they would then finish their post-pool, so maybe it's 8 o'clock time. And then for me, from a coaching perspective, opportunity to grab a coffee, a bit of breakfast, straight to the office, some planning work, some administration, check just what the daily email is, what's coming.
And once you've finished all those emails, it's back, what, about 4 o'clock or so?
Wednesday's a little bit different because we have some of our elite athletes who come in much earlier. So we actually have a land-based session at 1 p.m. So we're back ready coaching at 1 o'clock, in the pool 2 till 4 with a group, and then in the pool 4:15 till 6:15 with an additional group. And then 6:30 through till 8 o'clock as in another land session.
So it's a long day.
It's a long day, but it's about giving the athletes what they need, and if that's what that takes, then that's what we do as a programme.
We touched upon it a little bit before, this kind of this view of swimming. The Olympics kind of felt it was slightly disappointing from a swimming point of view, but this word legacy, it was thrown around like a shot put in the last 10 months or so. How much has that legacy hit Sunderland? How many more people are getting involved in swimming in the region?
Certainly, the initial uptake after the games, we saw quite a significant spike in terms of people who were interested in swimming. And I think that was to be expected on such a great games. But for Sunderland, we have a constant stream of interest, and we actively promote our programme within the city. So for us, it's just a constant, really, and we saw that initial uptake after the games. But I think that's pretty much settled down now, and we just get our regular sort of uptake. And that can be anywhere between 4 new members and 12 new members a week for us.
So there is an increase there at the very, very least. Well, the Paralympics obviously was very, very important for us as well. We had your likes of Jessica Jane Applegate, Ellie Simmons, but regionally we had Joseph Craig. What's the state like of disability swimming in Sunderland right now?
It's really exciting for us as a programme. We have an all-inclusive programme, so we work with both the able-bodied and the disability guys. Two of our standouts would be Nicole Lowe. She's 18. Nicole, she's in the S14 classification. And she's recently qualified for the IPC World Championships in Montreal as part of Team GB. So for her, in terms of a stepping stone, and the main focus is Rio 2016 for us. That's a significant step forward. We're really pleased with that, because it's a bit of a tricky qualification for Nicole. She's been injured for the 2 weeks leading into the competition, and we only actually was certain she was racing the night before a race, which is a little bit tricky. Exactly, it's a little bit tricky in terms of the preparation, but it was more a case of ensuring that if we did put her on the block to race, we weren't going to do any damage. So we were waiting for the medical support team to give us the green light, basically, for that.
And how about Matt Wiley as well?
Yeah, Matt, he's a really inspirational young lad, Matthew. He's 16. He's very, very driven, very committed. He's a little bit different situation to Nicole. The classification that Matthew competes in, he's an S9. Matthew suffers from cerebral palsy. So that has quite a significant bearing on his training, how he can train, and what we do as coaches with him. He has a big fatigue aspect to his body and his power output and things like that. but he's going from strength to strength. Matthew's
Great.
already in the top 10 in the world in his classifications at 16 years of age.
Superb.
And he's rapidly closing in.
Well, we look forward to seeing him really push on. Danny, finally, if I was to ask you what your one aim ahead of the rest of the season is, what would it be?
To make sure that I prepare my athletes the best possible for their major competition, which would be the national championships at the end of it, or the international competitions.
That's either a very, very well-rehearsed answer or it's a very knowledgeable answer. I'd like to think it was the latter. Danny, thank you for coming onto the show. Really appreciate it. Best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks
Cheers
for having me.
Thank you. OK, it's the part of a show I've been dreading, and no, it's not Matt Smith this week. It is, of course, varsity. Yes. Teesside won, sure. Many congratulations to them, but there were some fantastic efforts from our teams on away turf that day in April. Most notably, the men's badminton and the women's football, with a little bit of controversy thrown in for good measure. There, to sum up the day's action, deep in the heart of that shadowy place where few Sunderland Uni students venture, was our roving reporter, Luke Summers.
Hello and welcome to Teesside Varsity 2013, where Sunderland are hoping to recapture their title after last year's disappointment. We're here at Teesside University, reporting from the SportsByte Hub, here at the Olympia Sports Hall, and here on the AstroTurf. With the snow sports cancelled the previous evening, Sunderland took a 2-0 lead going into the day's main events. However, Teesside fought back with a 7-0 win in the women's hockey and followed it up with a 6-2 victory in the men's event. Captain Josh Rose thought the lads had acquitted themselves well, though.
I mean, great performance by the lads. Showed a lot of fight, a lot of courage today.
And back over at the Olympia Sports Hall, it was raining goals as Teesside scored again and again and again to bag an impressive 63-1 netball victory. Points were shared in badminton, with Sunderland's men and Teesside women both claiming comprehensive victories over their opponents. And news filtered through of wins for Teesside in rugby and rowing, while Sunderland pulled one back in the cricket, leaving the score 7-4 in the hosts' favour. Over in the Britain building, there was controversy as Teesside were awarded a victory in the cheerleading despite performing an easier routine, and Vice President Lee Shaw wasn't happy about the result. First of all, what do you think of your performance as a whole?
It was amazing. It's the best we've ever done. Better than what we did at Nationals, so we're happy.
And just if you briefly explain the controversy with the judging that we've had.
Yeah, well, pretty much I'll sum it up for you. The level ranges from level 1 to level 6, level 6 being the best. We were level 6 routine, they did a level 2 routine, and Teesside decided they would get rid of difficulty. Ours was clearly more difficult, so that's half the marks gone. So they won. End of the day, Teesside need to cheat to win.
Sunderland managed victory in the dance, though, in front of a packed crowd, but suffered defeat in American football, while the points were split in football with 2 wins apiece. Basketball was next on the agenda, with Sunderland needing to win all remaining fixtures to be in with a chance. The women didn't disappoint with a 32-point success, however a depleted men's team succumbed to a 90-43 loss. A marathon volleyball match capped off a great day for Teesside, who took their second consecutive varsity crown with a 13.5 to 8.5 win. We're back in Sunderland now after another excellent Teesside varsity, and after they've nursed tonight's hangovers, it's back into the gym for Team Sunderland. Luke Summers reporting for SportsByte.
Superb stuff there, Luke, as ever. Another excellent report. So well done, Teesside, but I wouldn't rest easy. Sunderland will be back next year. And they'll certainly be back stronger than ever in the cheerleading after that controversy. Hopefully, that report gave you a little bit of an insight into the lack of pom-poms, American accents, and, more's the pity, Kirsten Dunst. But if not, let's check out this week's Minority Minute, the part of a show where we ask an athlete to spend 1 minute, and 1 minute only, mind you, explaining their minority sport. Cale Crane, captain of the cheerleading squad. 1 minute on the clock. Over to you.
Hey guys, I'm Cale Crane. I'm the president of the Sunderland cheerleading team here in Sunderland University. I'm going to talk about cheerleading today. So firstly, cheerleading split into 2 categories. There's the stereotypical cheerleaders who you see on American football, supporting American footballers, basketballers, you see them on films and all that. And then you get what we do here at Sunderland, and it's competitive cheerleading. We compete in competitions all around UK, and try and improve each year. And as of the past 3 years, we've improved greatly. This is a co-ed team, so there's boys and girls competing. I thought, obviously, when I just joined because I fancied a girl on the team. But yeah, since then I've enjoyed it so much, I've loved it, and I've even become president of it. That's how awesome it is. And yeah, you should get involved because cheerleading is a very competitive sport, and it's just competitive as anything else: football, basketball, rugby, anything.
And with no Matt to guide us home with his newspaper roundup this time around, we've actually welcomed some of our cheerleaders from Minority Minute. So guys, really good to see you in the studio. I'm afraid that is all we've got time for this week. Thanks to my studio guest this time around, Danny Thompson, our roving reporter, Luke Summers, and of course, our cheerleaders too. And thank you to you for watching. I've been Andy Sixsmith. We'll be back soon with more from the SportsByte team. Bye for now.